wear your wedding ring. Somebody just missed that. Let me rewind it for the brother. I said, wear your wedding ring. Why? Because your ring is an indication that you're tied to somebody. I wish I had somebody. And make sure your wedding ring looks like a wedding ring. I wish I had somebody. You 75 years old, still trying to be a player, been married 40 years. Wear your wedding ring to let everybody else know you're tied to somebody. I'm trying to tell you how to love your lady and love your woman. I wish I had somebody. Never mention the D word. Divorce. Every time you get in an argument, you're talking about where you gonna go. You ain't got to take this. I'm leaving as soon as I get a chance. What if she reminded you about how good somebody else is down the street? What about Mr. Johnson down the street? He works out every day. He ran a marathon last month. He got 3 promotions this year. He always takes care of his children and his wife, and he spends all of his money on them. And then look at you and say, now when you going to the gym? When was the last time you got a raise or a promotion? If you don't want her to do it to you, don't do it to her. Make sure that she feels that you're loyal to her. Don't disrespect her. Y'all know this hard for me because my wife's sitting right there. She's going to replay this to me. But it's for me too. Make her first. If you walk into a room and your mama and your sisters are there and your wife is there, you hug and give affection to your wife before your mama. I wish I had somebody touch a man right next to you and say, grow up, brother, grow up. I wish I had somebody. You still catering to your mama. You still jumping up and running when your mama comes. The Bible says that you ought to leave your mama and your daddy and be glued to your wife. And that's for some of the mamas in the room. Because when he has a wife, his wife has more priority than his mama. You must provide for her, and then you must protect her. In your presence, she should not receive abuse at the hands of another. And she certainly should not receive abuse at your hand. I'm going to talk a little bit about that because domestic violence is on the uprise and the rampage in the church, and we sit silent like it's not happening. And some of our sisters are terrified when they leave church and go home because brothers in church are beating up on our sisters. You ought not let anybody else beat your woman. Somebody breaks into your house, tries to rob your house. You ought not be in the closet praying that things get better. You better get up. I wish I had somebody take your shirt off and fight till you die for your woman or your wife. Only time you want to fight is when you fighting your woman. And when somebody else is abusing her physically and verbally, you ain't got nothing to say. You got to learn how to protect your wife. Not only abuse at another's hands, but certainly not abuse at your hands. Someone has written very eloquently that when God made woman, he did not make her from our head, brothers, to match wits with us and to compete. You are not in competition with your wife or your woman. He didn't make her from our feet so we can step all over her and kick her. She is not your door rug, but he made her from our rib, which is under our arm and close to our heart heart so we can love her, and under our arms so we can protect her. And I said this morning, we need another ministry here. We need another men's ministry, that if we discover that there is a man beating his wife and abusing his wife, we ought to call him in the back room, about 45 of us, and say, as long as she's here, you better not put another hand on her. And if they don't listen to that, we'll call the police, because our women are being abused and ain't nobody talking about it. Adam gave up a rib to get a wife. What has he given up to get you, sisters? And what are you demanding that he gives up to keep you? See, we've lowered the standards. And can I tell you that the reason why we ought to raise the standard is not only because God said so, it's because we have little girls, men in our house. And if you're beating your wife, if you're abusing your wife, it teaches them what to accept and what to expect in their own relationship. And so consequently, when they get of age, they're going to put up with it. Because you put up with it. Because they're going to think that it is normative behavior, that it is natural. And can I tell you that abuse is not natural? I said it's not normal. I said it's not normal for him to cuss you out and push your head up against the wall. I know this ain't popular, but this is right where we live. It's not normal for you to come to work in the school with bruises all over your body. Brothers, if we have the greater privilege, if your woman or your wife has to respect you unconditionally and meet your deepest need, you have the greater responsibility, and that is to love her unconditionally. And since we have the greater privilege and the greater responsibility, we ought to act like it. That's for all of us. You're a strong man, a muscle man, a macho man, a cool man. You're an arrogant man. You're in charge. Act like it. I'm back in the Bible, verse number 31. I had to say that because it was on my paper. It was on my paper. Verse 31, for this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother and be united or glued to his wife, and the two will become, let the church say, one flesh. Now, this one flesh is not a reference to the physical consummation of marriage. It is not physical, but what he's saying is that woman has the potential to be the mother of your children. And in some cases, she is the mother of your children. And when you marry her, more than just the physical has come together. Your very life and estate is tied to that woman. So he says this. He says that if you don't want your well-being to be affected, then don't harm your wife. I got a few applications and suggestions, and then I'm going to close. One, make your commitments and keep them. If you say you're going to do something, do what you say. Put your wife first. Don't let something always come up for your wife. I wish I had somebody. Number two, know her well. In other words, there are times when you might be going out for a special occasion and you might say, let's go to dinner. She said, all right, let's go. And then you ask, well, where do you want to go? And then you make a suggestion and she says, no, I don't want to go there. Don't get mad and say, well, we ain't going nowhere then, forget it. take off your clothes and start flipping the TV. Every time I ask you something, you don't know where we're going to go. She's not saying she doesn't want to go. All she's saying is, do you love me enough that if you don't know, are you patient enough to find out where I want to go? And are you interested enough in me to take the time to find out what you don't already know? Know her well. When you go into your closet, brothers, and you say, I don't have anything to wear, what you're saying is, there is nothing clean and available. Same scenario. When your woman or your wife goes in the closet and she says, I ain't got nothing to wear, what she's saying is, I need something new.